What even is writer's block anyway? When we talk about writer's block, we are often referring to when we as writers are stuck and cannot write anything, constantly staring at a blank page for minutes or even hours at a time, desperately trying to write something down, but either being unable to or completely unhappy with what we managed to write. Writer's block is something that every writer has struggled with at one point or another, but at the same time, there are plenty of writers who don't seem to struggle with it at all. Some writers are capable of writing every single day, seemingly unbothered by this concept. So, what's the difference between you and someone who's able to write every day? Is it just talent or a lack of creativity or discipline on your part? Well, yes and no. You see, I believe that writer's block, instead of being a problem, is more so a symptom of a greater issue. The simple truth about writer's block is that it comes from a lack of inspiration. And you might be saying, well, no shit, everyone knows that. But I have to wonder how many people truly understand that if they still struggle with writer's block. Think about that for a moment. Writer's block is caused by a lack of inspiration. It's a symptom of burnout. So if we understand that, we must also ask ourselves, how do we fix burnout? The simple answer is, quite frankly, self-care. I think this topic deserves a video on its own, but to put things as succinctly as I can, burnout is the direct result of a lack of self-care and variety in your life. It is a sign that you have been grinding away at a single thing you enjoy until you no longer enjoy it. And we might think that grinding away at something is how we get better at things. Pushing through our burnout and maintaining our discipline is paramount to becoming a master at our craft. And while that is true to some extent, it is also true that if you sharpen a sword enough, it will inevitably be grinded down until there's nothing left but the hilt. And while discipline can be a good substitute for inspiration and motivation, it is not a replacement. If you're struggling with writer's block, ask yourself why that is. How well do you take care of yourself? Have you been sleeping consistently? Have you been eating healthy foods? Have you been getting enough exercise or interacting with friends? And you might be asking me, well, what do any of these questions have to do with writing? And to that I say, it has nothing to do with writing, but everything to do with how you recover from writing. How do you restore the ideas and inspiration in your mind? If you've ever lifted weights, the principle is the same. It's not about how much or how often you lift as much as it is about how well you can recover between lifts. A person who is spending every single day pushing themselves to their limits in the gym is not going to see the same results as a person who takes days off to rest their bodies and recover. It is the same way with writers. You should not be writing as much as you possibly can in a single sitting. Instead, leave some ideas unwritten so that you have a place to start tomorrow. And while you're recuperating, allow inspiration to come to you as opposed to seeking it out. Think of other things. Enjoy other people's writing. Writer's block is not something you simply push through, but it's also not an excuse to avoid writing. Sometimes the best thing to do for writer's block is to start writing something. At the end of the day, that is how you overcome writer's block. But something so simple is not always so easy, because whether it's a simple idea or a phrase or a thought you might have, what matters is the momentum you can generate and how easily those ideas can flow out. That, in and of itself, is a skill that you grow as a writer. There is a level of pain when it comes to writing consistently. A mental strain which we may not fully recognize because it does not hurt like a sore muscle. What's important to know about writer's block is that pain we undergo when writing through it. And instead of fearing that pain or being paralyzed by it, we should learn to not only accept it, but look forward to it. Because when we look forward to the pain, it's a lot easier to overcome that pain. Our reward as writers is looking back on all the things that we thought were so daunting and seeing our entire body of work laid out behind us, thinking about all the times we were stuck in front of a blank page and that we have conquered that which once looked so daunting, and we can be proud of how far we've come, that same pride pushing us forward towards how much further we desire to go. But none of that can happen unless you put thought to action and start writing.